Hi, good morning. It is Tuesday, May 26th. Welcome back from a 3-day weekend. For anybody that lost anybody in from serving in the military, thank you for your family's service. And Memorial Day is about honoring those that lost their lives from serving. So thank you again for your service. I am new to being a military mom, so all of this is kind of new and fresh for me. Although my son is alive and well, he is still in training. He will be graduating next week, which again, I will be out again next week. I will post a video. I will be here on Monday, so I will post your Monday video, and then I will actually be out the rest of the week. So I will extend out any of your assignments so that I will have time to check my email when I get back if you have any questions. But I'll post that in the video next week, so don't worry about that. Let's go over last week. We were talking about resumes last week. Let me just get, yeah. So last week I assigned your mock interview, your resume. You also had to come up with a job description, which you should have been using from day one when we did our career planning worksheet, but then I gave a formal assignment of your job description. In the video from last week, I showed you how to look at one. I used one for the executive director position. I showed you how I tailored my resume. So please go back and look at that video. Again, if you hadn't had a chance to look at that. So mock interview, resume, and job description. Uh, and the mock interview was done on Big Interview. I walked you through that as well. The strong, as well as some of you are still haven't completed that, so that is going to be late. I did just check my email again. Haven't heard from those of you who still have not completed it unless you are using a recent strong that you have done and you have those results. That's fantastic. But that link is live in the announcements that is labeled strong. All right, so that was last week. This week we're rolling in a cover letter. This is going to be a nice short video. We're just going to piggyback off of what goes with your resume. Now, with cover letters, so you've heard me say this before, and I'm going to keep saying this, I'm going to come at you from best practices of just kind of what are the trending, what's new and trending. If you don't want to send your resume in with a cover letter, then don't. If somebody says, "Hey, in our industry we don't read cover letters," then don't send one. But when in doubt, I always send a cover letter. A lot of employers will tell you to send a cover letter. If you're applying to something through like a job board or a website, and then there's a space where that gives you multiple file uploads, they're looking for a cover letter. Or they might flat out ask for a cover letter. But if they're just saying like just send your resume, then you can just send your resume. But that's going to be a judgment call for you. But we're going to cover this anyway because cover letters are still widely used in business today. Um, so I have a document that I'm gonna kind of reference. I'm gonna also attach it into the announcement so that you have access to that. I'm gonna actually leave a couple other pieces of reference for you as well so that you have those in the when I post this video into the announcement as well. So your cover letter, what is it and kind of why is it important? Your cover letter is a formal letter that accompanies your resume, and it kind of connects the dots from your experience and your resume. It is not just a regurgitation of what's on your resume. Your resume is just the facts. Like we said in the last video, there's not going to be any personal pronouns. You're just stating the facts. It's very formal. Now, your cover letter is formal too, but this is also a peek into your personality, your writing style, your communication skills. So you do get to use a little bit of flair. You can use some analogies or metaphors or some figurative language, as long as it's free and clear of any type of spelling or grammar errors, and it still stays professional. But this is where the employers actually get a chance to kind of see a little bit of you. Whereas in the resume, it's just going to be, these bulleted list of information, your accomplishments, your skill set, and what you've done in the past. and your cover letter is a little bit of your personality. It's a sense of who you are and if you're going to be a good fit into this organization. Employers are not just looking for a skill set, they're also looking for a personality fit as well. It has to be a good cultural match, not just for them, but also for you. You've heard me say this, you'll hear me say it again, especially in next week's video when we talk about interview skills, but you should be interviewing them as much as they are interviewing you. You need to make sure it's going to be a good fit for you as well. Unless you're doing some type of data entry and you're going to be in some back office with your headphones on and not really communicating with anybody, you are going to be working on a team of some sort. Even if you are going entrepreneurial route and you're going to run your own business, you still have to work with others. So there's still going to be some type of communication. So there's going to be some type of team atmosphere that needs to be a good fit. And so this cover letter just kind of gives them a little peek into that and to see if you're going to be a good fit. Same with the interview process. You're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you to see not only does the skill set line up, but does the personality line up. All right, so some general tips when you're writing your cover letter, focus on what you have to offer. Make sure that you are bringing the value. Same with your resume. You're talking about the value that you possess, the value that you are going to bring. Remember, this employer has a problem. They have an open position for whatever reason. The person that was in it before either moved on, was terminated, maybe the company's growing, and they had to create this role. The team is getting bigger. Maybe it's a new department. Who knows? But the point is that there's roles and responsibilities that are either not being done because there's nobody in that role, or they're kind of being farmed out to other people on the team, and so they're being overworked. You are the solution. That's the whole point that you're trying to make. You're the obvious choice. So between your resume, your cover letter, and your interview, you are proving yourself to be the obvious choice. You always want to focus on the value that you bring. What do you have to offer? You don't want to be saying like, I'm going to grow my skill set. I'm going to benefit from this experience. Yeah, it's kind of sounds great if you're like stroking their ego and saying like, this is such a great company and you're such a great leader. And I've heard such wonderful things about working for you. And I'm going to grow as an individual by working for you. As much as that sounds great, it's not really benefiting the company. That's all benefit for you. That's not what a company needs. They need how is it going to benefit them? So you have to talk about what you have to offer, focusing on the value. You're going to revise this cover letter for every position that you apply for. It has to be specific for every company you apply for. If you just write one generic cover letter and just send that out, the chances of a recruiter or hiring manager actually looking at that are very slim. You are up against a lot of competition, and so you have to make yourself stand out. And if you're just sending one just generic resume and one generic cover letter, you're going to be like many people who are like, I apply to like 50 jobs a day and I hear nothing. Well, yeah, because nobody wants just a generic resume. They want someone who's going to put forth effort. So revise your letter for every position you apply for. The employer wants to feel like you're writing to them. So you're going to give them specific reasons why you're interested in not only the position that's specifically posted that you're applying for, but the company and the organization itself. It sounds like a lot of work, and it is, because it should be. This company is going to be investing in you, and you are investing into getting into this company and starting this new role. And if you really truly want it, then you will work for. And that's everything in life. If you want to get fit, you're going to put forth the effort and get into the gym and eat healthy and do the work. If you want to get good at a sport, you are out there practicing doing the drills, even if your coach isn't out there. If you want to get good at, an instrument that you play, or like my son draws. My younger son, he draws. He draws all the time. No one tells him to. No one tells him to, but that's a passion of his and he wants to get better. So that's what he does all the time. He's always with his sketchbook. My older son was strumming on his guitar. Nobody told him to, but he was always teaching himself new chords and he was always practicing. So again, if you're passionate about something, then you will put forth the effort. And that's the same with looking for a job. Be authentic, be yourself. Approach it as if you were telling a story. You're going to be conversational. Again, this is different than what you would do on a resume. Hiring managers are looking for what's not communicated in your resume. All right, so some logistics. So the format, the simplest way is just to copy and paste the header that you use on your resume. I say this in every single class, every single semester I teach, and hardly anybody does this. I don't know why, but it is. It's literally best practices. Copy and paste the header that you're using on your resume. So that's your contact information, your name, your LinkedIn profile, your address, which is just the city and state, of course, your phone number, email, all that kinds of, just copy and paste it, put it in a Word document. Pretty much that simple. You want to keep it to one page. About 3/4 of the page is that sweet spot. It has to be more than half a page, and it should not be more than a full page. Do not drone on past a full page. They're not going to read it. You might even risk them being like, oh, that's too much, and then not reading it at all, let alone not reading all that hard work. So don't even do it. Don't try to cram it in by making the font smaller and then like making your margins smaller. And same with like, don't make your font bigger and making your margins bigger to try to fill it. You should have enough to hit half a page to 3/4 of a page. All right, you're going to use a standard letter format address for greeting and closing. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. And then this document that I'm going to attach actually has kind of a template on the last page. It's very simple. It's very easy for you guys to plug and play. But again, copy and paste that header from your resume just so it matches. It's very professional. It keeps your resume and your cover letter together. So to get started on how to write a cover letter, you have to research the company. You need to know who you're applying for. In our last video, we talked about going through that job description with a fine-tooth comb so that you can tailor your bullet points and your professional summary to match the job description. You're going to do the same thing with the website or the LinkedIn profile of this company. So you want to be able to express why you're interested in working for them. The hiring manager really wants to know that you've done your homework and that you can understand the company's goals. So you want to kind of look for their mission and vision, where they're going. When were they founded? Are they growing? Are they downsizing? Have they been in the news lately? Have they won, awards? I'm not just talking about like, oh, they were ranked best place to work, or, they have a really generous compensation package or something like that. But like, what is it about them that really stands out? What is something that you can identify with? If it's a personal or emotional, that really goes a long way, but it's got to be authentic. When you start your letter, it has to be a professional greeting. We don't want to just start with, to whom it may concern. That's just really outdated, and it really just kind of sounds kind of cringy almost. We just don't use that much anymore. That was popular, back like when I was a kid, but it is just, don't use that so much anymore. If you know the person's name, that's perfect. But you want to use just their first and last name. Try to stay away from pronouns or even Miss, Mr., Mrs., because you just don't know, unless, of course, it's spelled out. You might think that you're trying to be respectful and you're like, oh, this is a woman or a man, so I'm going to say Mr. or Mrs. But we have people who have different pronouns nowadays with all this gender fluidity. You might accidentally offend somebody if they don't have their pronouns listed on their, page or something like that. Again, you could accidentally offend somebody. Now, like me, I'm a Gen Xer. You can't really offend me. I am like that zero offense generation, but not everybody's like me. Or maybe you don't. Maybe it's a gender neutral name, like I don't know, Leslie could be a boy or a girl name, or Terry or something like that. I don't know a whole lot of men that are named Megan, but again, you just don't know. So you don't know if it's Ms., Mr., Mrs., or whatever, but say for certain this is a female name like Megan or Sharon or Lucy. Again, you just don't know. But let's say you're like, okay, that's a pretty feminine name. I'm going to use that. But you don't know if I'm married, divorced, or never married. So you don't know if it's Ms., Mrs., Miss. So again, it's kind of difficult. So if you know the person's name and you say it's my name, you could just be like, Dear Megan Morrow, stay away from the Ms., Mr., Mrs., because again, you just don't know. But if you don't know the person's name at all, you can just say, Dear hiring manager, done. Super safe. You're not going to offend anybody. You're hitting the right points. If it's like Nike, Dear Nike hiring team, Dear ABC company, Dear, hiring committee, but Dear hiring manager, perfectly fine. And then you're not going to offend anybody. So that's my little take on that. I'm going to come off my soapbox there. All right, the opening paragraph. You're going to have an opening and a closing paragraph, and then you're going to have some body paragraphs. The body paragraphs, you're going to have maybe two, maybe three, as long as they're short and punchy, as long as they're not going over that 3/4 to a full page. So your opening paragraph of a cover letter is the employer's first impression of you. So it's critical to engage them. So you kind of want to hook them. This first paragraph should really engage your reader. You want them to continue to keep reading. You want to engage them in somehow. Identify the position you're applying for because they could have multiple positions, likelihood that they do have multiple positions. If someone recommended that you apply or you know someone from the company, feel free to name drop them. Or if this is uncomfortable, maybe don't say, maybe don't. Or if it's a family member, you don't want to drop their name, but feel free to do so maybe in the email, if you're sending an email with your cover letter and resume, or in the interview or something like that, you can, if that's comfortable. If not, then don't. But make it crystal clear why you want to work for this company. Now, again, think about the mission and vision. Think about what drew you to this company. What is it about them that makes them stand out, that makes you want to apply for them? Just ask yourself, why am I going after this company? And it can't just be like, oh, because I need a job. Now, if that's the case, I mean, that's fine, but just don't say that. So, um, it could be silly, it could be funny, it could be anecdotal, it could be personal, it could be just make sure it's authentic, you know, and it doesn't matter what it is. I think about like, for example, like say maybe you're applying for Disney and maybe your opening paragraph is like, you know, ever since I was a little girl, driving down I-4 and I'd see those ears pop up over the horizon, I always knew I wanted to work for the mouse, something silly like that, could really kind of grab the reader if I was applying at Disney World. Maybe it's maybe they contribute to a charity that's near and dear to your heart. Like I recently lost my aunt to Alzheimer's, and this company that I am applying for is heavily invested in Alzheimer's research. I might mention that, watching my aunt decline, the woman that I grew up with, that I, cherished and loved, watching, lose her day by day, was heartbreaking. And, I want to be part of a company who is as invested in finding a cure for this awful disease so that no one else goes through that. I mean, it could be something emotional like that, but again, make sure that it's true and authentic. You never want to pull at someone's heartstrings and it not be true, because that's just not good business. And that's just not being a good person either. All right, so that's the opening paragraph. All right, the middle paragraph, again, two, maybe three. I think three is a little much. I would stick with two, again, personal preference. You're going to use examples from your previous experiences to demonstrate how you can meet or exceed the expectations from the job description. What are they looking for? Use previous experiences from either paid or unpaid work. It does not matter. But work or internships are really truly the best, but volunteer experience and class projects, clubs, organizations, team sports, anything like that will also be really great. We really just don't want to use maybe like personal experiences like, oh, I got into a fight with my sister and this is how we resolved it. If that's truly the only experience you have, that's fine. Maybe tweak it, make it sound like it came from a work experience. I would never tell you to lie, but I'm saying like if you had to kind of maybe tweak it a little bit to make it fit, that's okay. Again, as long as the story itself is true, you don't, but you just never want to lie on anything. You never want to fabricate anything because that will always come back to bite you. The truth will always come out 100%. Just live your life with complete integrity and honesty, 100%. So, um, the examples though should tie back to what they're looking for. So, um, I'm going to assign you an assignment called Telling Your Story. And this will help you with these paragraphs. So in the Telling Your Story assignment, you have to come up with 10 skills, 10 tasks, 10 stories. Now, make sure that they are 10 different skills. They have to be 10 different skills. You cannot give me 10 different stories on when you used problem solving. All right. I need problem solving could be one. Adaptability could be a different one. Attention to detail could be a different one. Now, it could be all maybe the same scenario, like, hey, when I was a professor at Florida Southern, I demonstrated these things, but I'm going to have different stories around when I used problem solving, around when I was adaptable, around when I used conflict resolution or communication skills. But the situation itself could be the same, but the stories should be different and the skills should be different. I hope that makes sense. If that doesn't, please send me an email and I'll be more than happy to re-explain that. But there's an example too in the assignment, so hopefully that'll explain it too. But when you're using these middle paragraphs, so I'm going to look at the job description and they talk about the person, like look back on last week's video when we talked about looking at the job description. What are the skills that they're looking for? Maybe it's problem solving, maybe it's adaptability, maybe it's presentation skills, communication skills, interpersonal skills, whatever, right? I'm going to pick two out of there that I feel I possess really well and that I have previous experience demonstrating. All right. I have previous experience demonstrating these skills. I've done them before when I was a professor at Florida Southern, when I was a principal at AMI Kids, when I was a teacher at Lake Region High School or something like that, when I owned my own business. I am going to use a very specific story, not just say, hey, when I was a professor, I used problem solving all the time. I need something that is specific. I want to paint a really vivid picture for this employer who can visualize me in that role doing that skill. If I just say, yeah, when I use problem solving all the time, I'm really good at it, that really doesn't give them anything to go on. It's just like that's just throwing words against the wall and hoping that they believe what I'm saying. But if I give them a specific story, it offers tangible evidence of me demonstrating that skill, further demonstrating the value that I bring to this proverbial table that we are at about how I'm going to solve their problem. And again, how I'm the most obvious choice for this position, right? So if the job description talks nothing about needing to be adaptable or nothing about having good problem solving skills, then don't talk about that in your cover letter because now it's irrelevant. I might have the best problem solving skills ever. I might have the best communication skills ever. But if that's not something that they are highlighting in that job description, they don't find that important. So therefore, now I'm literally taking myself out of the running by talking about stuff that's over here that has nothing to do with the job that I'm applying for. It always has to tie back to the job description, and then it always has to tie back to the company's values. So that this takes a extra work on your part, but if you, again, like I said a little bit earlier, if you want it bad enough, you will put forth the effort for it. You won't just give up just because something became a little bit difficult. All right, so these middle paragraphs are going to be you showing in paragraph form, in your written form, about when you demonstrate these skills. So I would say, Your opening paragraph is, your hook and, your the position you're applying for and why you're interested. And then you're going to go on to say, I possess excellent problem solving skills when I blah, blah, blah. Excuse me. I also will be a great fit for this company. This is my next paragraph. I have excellent interpersonal skills when again, a very short but specific story. And this is something I see all the time too. Students will still go, yeah, when I was on the lacrosse team at Florida Southern College, I possessed excellent leadership skills. I was always in a position of leadership as the captain, blah, blah. And then they don't give an example. They just say, as the captain, I was in a leadership position. It's like, okay, that's great, but I'm still not visualizing you. What does that mean to you? What does leadership mean for you? I mean, there's a lot of captains of a lot of different teams. What does that mean? I can't wrap my brain around what leadership skills you're trying to explain to me by just saying I did demonstrated leadership by being the captain of the lacrosse team. That doesn't tell me anything. So if you tell me a specific story, like, I demonstrate leadership, our coach wasn't there, or the team was, down, we had just lost, like, 2 or 3 games in a row, and everybody was down and out, and nobody really wanted to practice. And so I rallied the teams and I created this cool, fun way to practice. And I got their, spirits up, and we had a phenomenal practice. And the coach commended that to me that, this is the best practice we'd had in weeks. That's more specific than just saying I demonstrated skills because I was the captain. Okay, so 2 of those, maybe 3 at the very most, if they can be short and punchy. You want to emphasize these accomplishments as they are related to the position. Again, you're not just regurgitating what's on your resume, you're connecting the dots. You want to make it obvious to the employer that you are a good fit. Then you're going to close your paragraph by briefly summarizing, and briefly, brevity is your friend because they are scanning and they have so many other resumes and cover letters and so much other stuff that they're looking at too. So brevity is your friend. Briefly summarize how you might be uniquely qualified for this position. Kind of wrap it all up. You already told them, now you're just going to retell them. So like, it's like the whole thing. Tell them what you're going to tell them, tell them what you told them. Indicate a desire to meet and discuss. Don't end your beautiful cover letter that you spent all this time on, and then end it with a super weak, I hope you like what you read. I hope I hear from you. I hope, something like that. You just, did all this work to say how you're the best fit, how you possess all these skills and all this value that you bring. And then you're like, you lose all your confidence. You lose all of your stamina. You lose all of your credibility when you start saying stuff like, I hope I hear from you. I hope you like what you read. If this sounds interesting, if you would like to further the conversation, you sound like you're not sure of yourself. So instead, act as if. Indicate your desire. Be eager, be positive. Like I feel I would be a great fit for your organization because I possess, boom, 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 the skills that are, again, from the job description, not just skills that are just out there that you possess. I mean, I'm the best underwater basket weaver in the tri-state county, even though I don't think that really exists, but I could be, right? And that has nothing to do with the position. So it's irrelevant. And I'm not making myself the obvious choice. I could be saying I'm the best teller of bad dad jokes. They're freaking hilarious. But that has nothing to do with the job, And so again, I'm making myself irrelevant. I'm kicking myself out of the running before we even get started. So wrap it up. Tell them the skills this is how you're going to knock it out of the park. This is the value that you bring, making yourself the obvious choice. And then, hey, I look forward to the next steps in the interview process. I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to speaking with you face to face. Whatever feels comfortable for you. I normally say stuff like, I look forward to the next steps in the interview process. Because I'm just acting as if I know that I'm going to get the interview. I know that I'm going to hear from you. I know that I'm the best fit. So I'm going to act as if. I'm not going to just say, I hope that this sticks. I know it's stuck. I know I'm the best fit. I know that you would be, kind of off your rocker if you didn't select me or at least give me a chance in that interview. So close it out, recap your skill set, tell them that you're a great fit, that you are, eager to tell them you want the position. They just don't assume that they know you want it. Be like, yeah, I want this, and I'm gonna knock it out of the park. I look forward to hearing from you. Look forward to the next steps, and then thank them. Thank you for your time and consideration. That goes a long way. And then you're gonna close it out. Best, thank you, sincerely, regards, whatever feels comfortable for you. And then you're gonna write your full name: Megan Morrow, Joe Smith, Donald Washington, whatever, but it has to be your full name. All right. Even if you go by your middle name, whatever you go by, that's what you need to sign it. Whatever your legal name is. Okay. Don't sign it Bubba. Not like I'm talking like not a nickname, but like your name. All right. I hope that was clear. But be authentic, be genuine, and definitely be you. So this is super important, especially in the world of AI, because you can absolutely ask ChatGPT or Claude or Lovable or whatever it is that you're using, Gemini, whatever's all out there. You can absolutely ask them to help you and brainstorm and what are some things that I should do. Put the job description in and ask it to help you. But it should be a brainstorming piece. It should not be what you copy and paste and use as your own, because it's not how you talk. And then that's going to be a disconnect from when you get in front of the employer. And if they write this beautiful cover letter and it sounds wonderful, and then you get in front of the employer and then now you start talking and it doesn't match, that's going to be an awkward interview. So use it as a springboard, use it to brainstorm 100%. You can just don't copy and paste. I just caution against that. Please, that's the best thing for you to use AI responsibly. All right. If you are going to email this cover letter along with your resume to the hiring manager, so if you're applying via email, so first of all, like if you're applying like on a job board, or if you see it, just follow the directions no matter what or however. If somebody gives you their card and says, "Here, send me your resume," or you see it online or something, just follow the directions no matter what. If it's like on some like Indeed or something like that, and it says send your resume to Megan Morrow at this email, and it might even say in the subject line, put this, like reference number, blah, 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 or say this. Just follow the directions 100%, because if you can't follow the directions when applying for the job, what's going to make them think that you can follow directions if they were to hire you? So follow the directions, whatever, however it says. If it's usually Indeed or something, it's usually just like apply here. There's a button that you click and it might take you there. But if they give you an email address to email to, that's what this portion of the video is for. If you're going to apply for a job by attaching a resume and cover letter to an email, you want to make sure that you follow the directions. All right. So cover emails should be short, should only be about 5 to 6 sentences. You don't want the reader to have to scroll. You want it to be super short, super specific. Focus on the most important aspects of your experience and skill set that qualify you for the position. They're going to read your resume. They're going to read your cover letter. So this isn't a cover letter. This is just really specific to get them to open your resume and cover letter. Include relevant links to blogs or personal websites, projects, etc., so that the reader can quickly learn more about you. Write to fit the tone of the company and the organization. Hey, Google's going to be way different than Raymond James or, Jabil or something in farming or something. Like you have to know the company that you're applying to. So subject line. Oftentimes job ads will tell you exactly what they want you to put in the subject line. That's what I was just saying a little bit earlier. But if they don't, do something practical like application for, and then list the specific job title. So like application for marketing intern, John Smith, Again, if they don't tell you exactly what to put in the subject line, most of the time they will, but if they don't, make sure it's very specific. Don't say something like urgent, open immediately, read this or something, but it could just be, resume for Megan Morrow for, business analyst position, application for Tampa Bay Lightning intern position, Megan Morrow, whatever. Make sure it's very identifying. All right. The greeting. Try to find out the name of who you're writing to. If you're sending it to somebody, hopefully it's not just info at blah, blah, blah. You can look on the company's website, but if you can't find it, then just keep it neutral, like with hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, anything like that will be just fine. Again, dear hiring manager always works just fine. All right, don't use any type of emojis or anything like that. Don't use unusual fonts. Just keep it very short. Keep it very professional. Very professional. And then close. You're going to just kind of do the body of the paragraph. You want to, again, the position, a couple of key points, who you are, why you're interested in the position, what you've done that's maybe relevant to the job, make some connections for them. But again, really brief because you're going to read your resume and cover letter anyway, why you're the best fit. Um, Thank them, just like you're going to do in the cover letter. Thank them for their time and consideration for reading this. And then just close it out. 5, 6 sentences, super brief, super quick. Let them read, attach anything that's relevant. And then always thank them. I just lost my train of thought. And then always thanking goes so far. Thinking goes so far. All right, so I'm going to attach this document for you guys in the announcement that just has a whole bunch, everything that I just kind of went over. And then that very last page actually has like a template that you guys can look at and use. And then I will be assigning a cover letter for you. Use the job description that you used last week to tailor your resume with your professional summary. But you don't have to if you've recently found a different job, maybe you are actively out there searching for a job or you're searching for an internship, and this could be good practice for you. But I would say just use the job description you've already found. Try to work smarter, not harder. And then the telling your story, that again is going to be 10 skills, 10 tasks, 10 stories. They have to be different. And the example that I provide for you is not one of your 10. You have to come up with 10 of your own, and they have to be different. So again, you can only use problem solving one time. You can only use adaptability one time. You can only use emotional intelligence one time. If you have any questions or any of that is confusing, please let me know. But cover letter is pretty much all that we are covering this week. So a nice light week for you. Cover letter and telling your story. If you put forth the effort into the telling your story assignment, that will benefit you so far down the road because then you can kind of just save that document, put that off to the side, and then every time that you are writing a cover letter, those stories themselves don't have to change. If in every job description you see problem solving or adaptability or interpersonal skills, you can still use those same stories of when you've demonstrated the problem solving adaptability, interpersonal skills, and you can copy and paste those into the body of every cover letter as long as that job description is calling for those skills. And then your intro and your conclusion will always be specific to each job, but those body paragraphs might be the same. So if you had like a running Word document, which is what I have, and anytime I have to, draw upon any of that experience, I can just look through all of that without having to rewrite those stories every single time I write a new cover letter. I can be like, oh yeah, I have a really good story about when I use problem solving. I have a really good story about when I was a team player or when I demonstrated leadership skills. And then I can just grab that story from my bank, you know of stories and then just copy and paste that so that when I'm rewriting a cover letter for every new job I'm applying for, I'm really only writing the intro and the conclusion every time. And so it's not as daunting of a task as it sounds to rewrite a cover letter for every single job. In the assignment, there's also going to be another video about how to write cover letters. So she kind of walks you through it as well. I think it's easy 5, maybe 7 minute video. So if you need some additional cover letter support, it'll be in the assignment. All right, guys, if you have any questions, please let me know. Next video will be on Monday, and we will be talking about interview skills. And then we just have one more week to wrap it up. Summer goes by fast. All right, let me know if you have any questions. I hope you all are doing great. And I'm here for you. All right, guys, take care.